step in today to organise this, just to let people know that the meeting is being recorded. So I hope that's all right with everybody. That way people who aren't able to attend tonight can view this at a later date. So I will just run through very quickly how the proceedings are going to work. So we are going to have opening statements, which will be a maximum of 4 minutes each from, and this is the order, we've drawn lots and then agreed the following order, which will be Anne, followed by Roderick, followed by Juliet. And just to let people know that Roderick, as some of you may know, has had a recent operation and hopefully won't need to ask someone to speak for him at some point. But just in case that happens, I'm just forewarning you of that. So we will have opening statements of 4 minutes each. Then we will go into questions, which should run from 10 to 7 till 7:45. And each of the candidates will have 2 minutes to answer each question. And so, which should mean that we will be able to take between 7 and 8 questions. People can still, if they want to, submit questions by email or using the online form. So the email address is campaigns@londonlibdems.org.uk, and the online form, which hopefully you've got the link to somewhere in front of you. It's rather long for me to read out, but you can, as I said, submit questions still by email or online. We're not using the chat facility, so you will not be able to submit questions through the chat because we didn't want that to become part of an election campaign. We want to make sure that we're focusing on the questions. So I think I've covered all the points, all the housekeeping points. I'm sure we're going to have a very full and useful debate, well-informed debate for the London Region Chair Hustings. And so we're going to start now with Anne, who is going to speak for 4 minutes. So Anne, over to you.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks everyone for coming. Usually my work in the Lib Dems puts the spotlight on other people, running London Region social media accounts, supporting people standing for external elections, or making sure members have a rewarding experience. So it feels pretty weird to be talking about myself instead, but here goes. I was born and raised a Liberal Democrat in Cornwall and have been a member since 2015. I got active in Lambeth, where we had no councillors, and were taking on Brexiteer Kate Hoey and Vauxhall. Since that 2017 election, the Lib Dems have basically taken over my life, in a good way. I'm currently London Region Vice Chair and have learned a lot this year. I know the level of commitment, time and responsibility needed, and I'm ready for that commitment. As well as being London Vice Chair, I'm also Lib Dem Women Vice Chair and Digital Officer for Twickenham and Richmond, where I now live. But it was getting involved in Lambeth, where I also became Vice Chair, which got me hooked. I discovered the fun of campaigning, being part of a committed group, making things happen very quickly, spotting opportunities and turning ideas into action. I found my digital and writing skills could make a real difference too, and I could teach people things I knew to help with their campaigning. I learned new skills as well, and I made some great friends. Starting out in Lambeth means I know how transformative it would be for so many of our local parties to get that foothold back on the council. As London Chair, I'd make sure the work of the region always has the 2021 and 2022 election results in mind, because those polls are so important. Caroline Pigeon does tremendous work on the Assembly. Let's get her some colleagues. We run 3 councils in South West London, where the Lib Dems are making a real difference, with free school meals, 20mph speed limits, actually listening to residents when it comes to housing development, and so much more. Elsewhere, where we have opposition groups or lone councillors, we're able to amplify residents' voices. We need to build on that and get Lib Dems onto councils where we're currently unrepresented, so our councillors can make that difference to people's lives. So what can I do as chair to help our local parties? Well, I can make London Region the body that really supports our borough parties in tackling their common challenges and create structures that make that second nature. We've made a start this year with digital training sessions put together by Gareth Lewis Shelton and the diversity workshops I've been convening with Anud Al Samurai and Simran Meji. And as Vice Chair, I've begun to put measures in place we can build on. But there's much more we can do at a London level to make local parties' lives easier, help you be more effective, and help you win. Let's make London Region the hub that connects people, whether that's so data officers or treasurers or membership officers can turn to each other for support and training, or campaigners can share the big ideas resonating with voters, or even just sharing social media graphics that can be used everywhere. Let's not forget setting up social events which allow people to make new connections, something that can be particularly important if you're in one of our smaller local parties. We can do all of these things bigger and better, and I want to set us up to do that for the long term. To make that happen, I'll build relationships with local chairs and their teams to hear what they need and ensure it's an ongoing conversation. I'd ensure everyone on the exec has an opportunity and responsibility to work on something where they can make a real difference. So please pick me as your first preference to get London organised, make those connections and help you win. Because it's not about the chair, it's about all of you.
Great, thank you very much, Anne, and within time as well, so that's fantastic. Thank you. We're now going to move to Roderick, so hopefully once the camera switches, we will have Roderick in front of us. So we'll wait for Roderick to appear before we start the clock ticking.
Good evening, Liberal Democrats. Good evening, Liberal Democrats. Thank you to all of you who have sent me get well soon messages and those who have already voted for me. I've been in this party since 2003. I came to the party via Jonathan Hunt in admiration of the work Sir Simon Hughes MB did for the residents of Southwark. So to answer your question, I have not just popped up in the last few years. Through my work as chair of the Liberal Democrat Campaign for Racial Equality or on the Federal Audit and Scrutiny Committee, the Lib Dems stood up for me as a resident of the London Borough of Southwark and the injustice that happened to me and my business. After which I thought, who are these people? I started to give them my time, delivering leaflets, donating money and campaigning locally. I rolled my sleeves up and sought over 170 members to join the party locally. But in 2009, Nick Clegg said to me at a conference fringe, I want to change the look and feel of the party. I want it to be more diverse, more inclusive. The party is too male, too pale, too stale. Those were Clegg's words, not mine. What has happened since then, I asked? As they say in Glee Club speak, absolutely zilch and bugger all. The time is now. Let's dare to be different. Diversify the party membership across London. Alternative campaigning working where we are weakest, known by me as Lib Dem deserts. Revolutionise how we raise funds. Empower our members, all of you, to build an inclusive party. It's time to walk the walk. We have done enough talking. Slogans and statements are just actually that. We need to see deeds, not words. In a time of Black Lives Matter and COVID-19, the electorate needs to see action, which has been lacking from our party. With no disrespect to my opponents, we do not need more of the same, or do we? It's your decision. We have lost approximately 3,000 members in London, including our former mayoral candidate. Does anybody know why? I will give you the answer. No, we don't. I would like a survey to go out to all members who leave the party to understand why it's vital. Also, I would like the London region to do a full ethnic minority monitoring exercise. I'll be your caring campaigning chair. The region needs to step up to the plate. The local party need more than an email. We need to go out and speak to people. Direction is needed on campaigns. We don't engage with London's 42% BAME population. Look at the debacle in Wimbledon and Wallington at the general election. These seats should have been won. How we recruit members needs to be improved. The region needs to make sure that responsibility is given to people who meet a person's specification. We have been found wanting by inexperienced, well-intended people who scope out ideas up at university and are never around to see them implemented within this region. For too long, the region has been a social club. Well, in the last 18 months, well, what has happened? Very little. Sorry, I got it wrong in the last 6 weeks. All these events being held are cynical moves to market the status quo, to continue with more of the same. London is a diverse city. Local parties are crying out for help. We need to keep Labour and the Tories busy in their constituencies. But if we offer no resistance, then we will breach the borders of Richmond, Sutton and Kingston too. We should have been doing this since 2014. Who challenges and advises the local parties? Where are the party self-assessment reports? SARS.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
Where is the region's quality improvement plans? Without them, we are doomed to fail. Fail to prepare, then prepare to fail. I will leave you with this. Anton Georgiou proved that with his win in Alperton by-election in January, over 28% swing against Labour, it can be done. The moral of the story is this. I am not your tick box, your toolkit, your project, your pick and mix, or your exercise. I look like one of the 42% of London's BME population that we currently engage.
Please draw your remarks to a close.
I'm happy to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roderick. And finally, we have Juliet. So again, we'll wait for Juliet to appear before the clock starts.
Hello, everybody. My name is Juliet Makapila, and I am the former London Regional Executive Diversity Champion. And of course, many of you know me as the community leader, and I enjoy making a difference. Let me turn straight away to today's breaking news. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has laid out his vision for a net zero UK government investment. The UK will ban the sale of new cars that run on fossil fuel in 2030. We would be the first G7 country to decarbonize road transport, and there will be a 6 carbon budget in 3 weeks' time. But wait, a new report from the National Audit Office says the government created a high priority channel for PPE supply with political ties. We have raised how many billions of pounds for coronavirus was either wasted or ended up in Barnard Castle. And even the Red Cross declared that global warming is a bigger threat than coronavirus. We cannot stand by and let Boris Johnson fleece the country to catch the headlines and benefit his cronies. A new investment must be bottom up and benefit local communities. That is what the Lib Dems stand for. So people often ask me, should I become chair of the region? And what is my vision for London? Let me tell you, a place where people want to visit, where the air is fit to breathe, where every child, man and woman reaches their full potential, with a thriving and sustainable economy, where caring and sharing communities live free from hunger and homelessness. And how do we get there? I believe we can get there through active partnership of health professionals, academics, engineers, professionals, in other words, active global and local partnership. For example, research from UCL are involved in new circular economy, research to help reduce waste and energy and pollution in UK. How are we going to get there and our aims? I can hear you asking me, what will this active partnership actually achieve? Let me tell you, a community business incubator in every borough. Yes, we are going to regenerate London. A retrofit academy in every borough. We need local authorities-led retrofit strategies and programs because we are going to retrofit 5,000 homes a year for the next 10 years in every borough and reduce the energy cost for those most in need. And of course, 100 new electric charging points in every borough and good air quality. 50 community health
30 seconds remaining.
in each borough. to finish off, our top priority should be to develop engaged partners with empowered community. And that's what Lib Dems are all about. Working together, teams, together, everyone achieves more. Vote for me as your first preference.
Thank you very much, Juliet. So now we're going to go into questions, and the question are going to be asked to all of the candidates. So we're not going to single out a particular question for a particular candidate. And so as the speakers open their contributions in the order Anne, Roderick, Juliet, the first person to answer our first question will be Roderick. And first question is from Kate Pothlingham from Islington. Please could each candidate say what they have been doing to support our GLA candidates and mayoral campaign. So starting with Roderick.
Hi, thank you for your question, Kate. I have been out on the road supporting various campaigns across London, treading the boards, knocking doors, etc., etc. I believe that 2021, formerly 2020, which is important for us all. And I believe that we have to all step up to the plate. What is not happening and what hasn't happened in the last 6 months, at least, is we haven't been informed or engaged in any form of electronic campaigning, which is taking part in the party. Therefore, we have been rudderless in London while we watched our Conservative and Labour bedfellows taking the lead. So I've been out there on the streets, treading the boards. I've been out with our mayoral candidate down in Lambeth, introducing her to businesses in Lambeth who are feeling the pinch after COVID. And we took her to Lambeth to talk and to speak to the Windrush generation. It's right that the mayoral candidate and the GLA members should get visibility. And that is what we did. We went to I've taken Florence Melee down to the George Floyd birthday celebration and vigil, which was attended by Leroy Logan, Michael Gross, etc., and Imaginations Lee John. We had a good night, and I was a Liberal Democrats representative.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
And I made a speech on our behalf, and I'll continue to promote the values that we have in London, be it the part of London where we see it as a marker for the Windrush generation. I thanked Louisa for coming down there and Florence for coming down there, and I have more work to do once we get some decision and direction where we're going with this.
Thank you, Roderick. Juliet, you're next.
Thank you so much, Kate, for that question. First of all, the mayor, our next mayor has just been elected, and we all know that. And it came as a surprise when we were told that Siobhan had just resigned. So I believe that currently I'm just letting my community know that we've now got a new candidate who is Louisa. And of course, I'm asking for their support so that they can come in and support us and create that kind of campaign that we need them to vote for us. So I'm right there trying to explain to people, and sadly, Lib Dems did poorly in elections. So currently convincing people that we are the right party for them takes that kind of momentum that we need to get to tell them that despite what has happened, we are the right party for them. What have I done so far? I have tweeted about our new mayoral election and of course the GLA. I have also spoken to Councillor Louisa and encouraged her, and also gotten her to sort of like just think about the kind of leadership that we deserve, and just getting her sort of like comfortable in terms of how we should like just speak into the public and stuff like that. So I've tried to get hold of her and basically make a conversation.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
So that she gets the kind of, the way I, public speaking, because we've seen a lot of that being spoken about in the public. I believe we're the right party. And I believe that with all of us, if we are going to go out there together and inspire these candidates, then we'll get somewhere.
Thank you very much, Juliet. And finally, on this question, Anne.
Thanks, Tom. So the mayoral campaign is kind of how I first got involved with London Region, really. I was on essentially Siobhan's digital team before she had staff. In the kind of early days, you were doing like a newsletter on her website, rounding up her week, bringing together social media. So that was me that was writing that and putting it together. And getting involved with London Region's social media, so Twitter, Facebook. All of those candidate profiles that are up on the London Lib Dems website, that was me that did those. And at conference last year, goodness, that feels like a really long time ago, when we were down by the seaside, I was kind of an extra media aid for Siobhan, essentially, live streaming and live tweeting from various fringes and all of that kind of thing. I'm really excited now that we've got Louisa leading our campaign. I think she's made a brilliant start to it on the media front, and building on that work, and now also on the brilliant work of our Assembly candidates. So promoting Caroline Pidgeon, the work that she's doing on cladding, because it isn't just about that mayoral candidate. We've got a really strong foundation of people behind it. I'm sure everybody on this call knows how amazing Hina Bakari is, and to get her elected to the London Assembly would be a brilliant thing. Gareth Roberts is down in my neck of the woods, so I'm going to be helping a lot on his campaign as well. That is just building up now.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
I think it's fair to say that over the now we've got a mayoral candidate in place, everything is really speeding up again, and I'm very excited about it. And if you aren't already, there is a Twitter list on the London Lib Dems Twitter with all of the 2021 candidates on there, so please do follow them there.
Thank you very much, Anne. So we're now going to move on to the next question, which is from Liz Jarvis, Vice Chair of Liberal Democrat Women. How have you personally supported women in the Liberal Democrats? And if elected chair of London Liberal Democrats, what would you do to ensure more women are encouraged to stand for election, both at local and parliamentary level? And the first person to answer this question is Juliet. Just wait for Juliet to come online.
It looks like Juliet might have lost her connection.
Okay, in which case, can we go to you, Anne?
Juliet's back.
Oh, right, sorry, well, we'll get Juliet in that case. Juliet, do you need me to repeat the question?
Please do.
So the question was, how have you personally supported women in the Liberal Democrats? And if elected chair of London Liberal Democrats, what would you do to ensure more women are encouraged to stand for election, both at local and a parliamentary level?
I was the former, first of all, I was the former London Regional Executive Officer for London for many years. And when I came in, there was hardly a lot of improvement in London for even BME communities or even women. So one of the things that I did is to create teams. And the one thing that I know, I am able to speak to every single person. I'm that type of a person who is able to create great teams. And with women, I want to, first of all, say, engaging with what am I going to do to get more women elected. I am involved with what they call the 50-50 gender balance campaign. And my great change maker, sorry, I just went blank there, her name, but anyway, it's the 50-50 parliament. I was one of the first people to actually push the agenda for 50-50 women, and she called me because she had visited Kenya. So one of the things I'm going to do is to make sure that We are constantly engaging with women across the party. We are also constantly creating partnership, not just within the party. As I said earlier on, active partnership is really, really important within the community. Getting out there in the community is absolutely vital so that we are able to rebuild London, and we need the right chair to be able to bring the grassroots right at the forefront of our new sort of new field of the Lib Dems. And that is what is really important. And I believe that the other thing that I've done is I've always encouraged and spoken about training. And while I was the London Regional Executive as well, I encouraged that we needed to do more training, and especially self-development and this kind of trainings to empower women so that women are more confident to go and be in charge of decision-making process. That is something that that is important even while I'm just a community leader, because I believe that once women are empowered, they become the ambassadors and the great people to sort of build a nation.
Thank you, Juliet. So now Anne.
I think it's fair to say that some of the most inspiring people that I've met since I've been active in the party have been some of the fabulous women that I've met, and campaigning for supporting Sarah Lewis in Vauxhall, who's a great friend of mine from my time in Lambeth, Helen Thompson, who did a great job in Streatham as well, going down to campaign for my sister in Truro and Falmouth last year. It was really exciting. But I mean, it's clear we do have a women problem in the party. If you look at the nominations for the committee members, there's only 4 women, and I think there's 18 or 19 men who are going for London Region. So there's clearly more work that we need to do there. I think a lot of it is asking people to stand. That is a key thing for women going for election, that a lot of the fabulous women who I've heard talking now that they're in those positions, that someone has asked them to stand up. They didn't think they could do it, or they didn't think they'd be wanted. So asking people to stand makes a huge difference. So if you spot someone with talent, whether they're male or female, but I'm as a member of Lib Dem Women, vice chair of Lib Dem Women, then I am trying to bring women forward and do that. So if you find someone who's got talent, to nurture them, encourage them, send them words of support. Lib Dem Women, my work there, so I've launched a newsletter, and one of the things that we do is celebrate some of the women who are notable within the party, because having those people that you can look up to is important. I know at conference, I think there was one session where there were more Christophers speaking than there were women, which is something that we want to change in March. So we've started planning a run through of the agenda to empower women to get involved and make them feel like they can be part of it. I'm really excited to be campaigning for Caroline Pidgeon. I'm really excited to be campaigning for Louisa Porritt. To have such huge role models at the top.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
Is really exciting.
Great, thank you very much, Anne. And finally on this question, Roderick.
Yeah, I have supported women across London for a amount of years, too many years to mention. Of late, I've been out on the road campaigning for Isabel Prasaram down in Barnet, Chipping Barnet. I've been out campaigning down in Sutton with Hinda Bukhari. I lobbied for women, and I lobbied for BAA women to be represented in this party. You would never have had Hinda Bukhari as number 2 in London Region, had for the lobbying that we did to Chris Mainson 2017, 2018. But that's one of them. There's Margot Wilson. We've got a by-election upon us in Sydenham here. The party wouldn't fund her. We decided at the organisation that I chair, LDCRA, that we'd fund her for her campaign. Up and down the country, in and around London, I have personally funded some of the women out there. I did a lot in Southwark. I funded a big team of women in Simon Hughes' constituency party. I engaged with Humira Ali in Southwark, and I engaged with women that need help. I believe, as the chair of London Region, that I have something to offer. I believe that women like also BME people, deserve a chance. And I will say this to you. Anne says there's only 4 women on the executive. There's only 2 BME people there. As I said before, I am not your toolbox. Our women are not your toolboxes. Equality for all. Equality for all in opportunity and in life. And for the women that I've helped, I was down in Sarah Olney down in Richmond. I was the person on the reception. I was on the reception for Sarah Olney. I've been around. I might look young because I say black don't crack, but I've been around a long time and I've helped women, and I stand by people like Julia Cambridge, Candy Piercy, etc. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Roderick. So we're now going to move on to the next question. And this is from Gwyneth Deakins from Redbridge. The whole of East London is a desert for Lib Dems as far as council seats is concerned. What would you do about it? And Anne, could you answer this question first, please?
So there's clearly a lot of work we need to do in moving that out. We've got a great London Region Development Officer in Tim Verboven, who is working on bringing forward the boroughs so that we can start to move forward, and adding Craig O'Donnell to that team, we're able to expand a bit further. So moving those forward, I think one of the key things that can really help the local parties who have got less presence is to pair with local parties that have got presence or are a bit bigger, maybe share some resources. Like the job of data officer for a local party with not very many members, for example, is a really tough one to deal with. Similarly, treasurer and that kind of thing. These are quite specialist roles. Perhaps we can look at clustering boroughs together so that they can support each other, have more fun, learn from each other, and have one person doing it well for that cluster and freeing other people up to work hard. And if we spend time with each other, then we can learn those best practices, help each other out, build those relationships, so that if there's a by-election, say in one of these boroughs that are a bit more desert-like, we can go there, we can help, we can build something where there's something left behind afterwards as well.
Thank you very much, Anne. And next, can we have Roderick, please?
Hi. East London. East London is a desert. We have 23 or 24 boroughs where we have hardly any representation. We lost our councillors, a load of them, in 2014. Nothing has been done to replenish them. In East London, we have the phenomenon that is Rabina Khan, Councillor Rabina Khan, that I brought to this party a couple of years ago now. I believe we got a lot to learn. We have to be able to engage with the communities in East London to be able to spread our voice. It doesn't help that we were found to be racist in Tower Hamlets from 1992 onwards, a borough that basically Paddy Ashdown had to go and sort out all the issues there. The community does not forget. I've been on the streets at day and night with the people in East London, looking at ways that we can engage and help them with their problems. The party needs a buddying up system. We've got 6 or 7 boroughs that we're strong in. We need from the region to make plans available to buddy up people, buddy up the good practice in certain areas. We need to keep our opponents busy in those constituencies. If we've got more of the same, nothing is going to change. Tower Hamlets is a big party. There's a lot they can do. Good practice coming from Tower Hamlets is what we should look at. But if we're sitting on our hands, playing keyboard politics, it's not going to get us anywhere. No election is going to be won by Twitter. No election is going to be won by Twitter and Facebook. They are add-ons. Get out there, talk to people, knock on those doors, and rebuild the force that we had in East London. Thank you.
Thank you, Roderick. And finally, on this question, Juliet.
I don't know if you had me there, but thank you so much to Gwyneth Deakins for this question. I think East London is somewhere special, and it's got one of the most deprived population, as we always see. Many Asians live there. And I remember that, was it last year or the year before last year, I was invited in their council to do Black History Month. And it was interesting to note the kind of problems that were coming out in that area. So what would we do to improve that area so that the council, so that people get to elect our party? I think that first of all, we need to rebuild the bridges, and we need to look very carefully why people are not voting for us. And that goes without saying in all the boroughs. I also believe that the way we've done politics in East London may have affected us. So I believe that for us to be able to rebuild the trust within those that can vote for us, we need to go and talk to those community and see how they can get more involved with us. And if those communities have come to us and we are struggling, the question is why? So I believe that for us to be able to bring East London right at the forefront is to support even the ex-councillors that have been there. I feel that our councillors—
30 seconds remaining.
I feel that councillors across London need to be supported more. I feel that members in the community, members of Lib Dem need to be supported more. And that goes without saying. Better communication in every aspect of all our management committees so that we are able to rebuild East London. That is the only way forward. Change our methods and campaign and reach the grassroots is something that I will champion.
Thank you very much, Juliet. Now we're going to come on to a couple of questions which I'm joined together. And can I just say to people, we will probably be able to fit in a couple more questions if anyone is able to email those or use the form. So these two questions are going to be grouped together, and it will be Roderick that I'm going to ask to answer them first. And the questions are, the first of all is from Adrian Trett from Lambeth, and the second from Jonathan Hunt of Southwark. And the first question is, what attributes do you think you can bring to the role as chair and bring about an inclusive intersectional approach to diversity for the London region? And the second sort of related question is, the latest mayoral candidate leaflet has no reference to Black or BME voters or citizens. How would you, as regional chair, ensure we are seen as a multiracial party promoting Black interests in constituencies where there is a BAME majority? So, Roderick, would you like to tackle that first, please?
As you heard my opponent, one of my opponents say earlier, I will say this to you. Working with communities, as I said, toolboxes, pick and mix, it don't work. The numbers tell the truth. The numbers don't lie. We are not cutting the mustard. In LDCRE, which I've chaired, as Adrian said, I've done that. I've championed race equality, and I've put race equality out front. I've also championed LGBT women and disability, because those are the areas that I have the skill set and I've experienced as my lived experience. I can't sit here and expect you to feel and understand my lived experience. But what I'm telling you as a region, by not engaging with people like me to put out a leaflet, which I have seen like that, and come here tonight as a digital officer and put that out, and it gets even worse. We have an AGM on Saturday, not a Black person on those speaking lists throughout the day. What this party does not understand is this. Diversity in all its strands is something that we need to pick up on. You have the Irish community, you have the race equality, you have intersectionality of LGBT, BNE, transgender, etc., trans rights, etc. We have to step up.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
And we have to deliver on this for our people. What we can't do is sit there and pay lip service have a quiz night, have a social club, and at the end of the day, people like me, 42% of Londoners are left without a voice. You cannot win with those numbers. And that is what I would do. I wouldn't let it go out. Jonathan Hunt, you are correct. It's a shame, it's a shambles, and it's an embarrassment to London region, a region that
Please
is
show your marks
responsible,
close.
a region that is responsible for our capital city.
Thank you very much, Roderick. And next, Juliet, to answer that question. You're muted at the moment, Juliet.
Thank you very much to Adrian Trett and of course, Jonathan Hunt. I'll start off with Adrian's, what attributes do you think we can bring as a whole? I used to work with Adrian and he was the People's Committee Chair, and he definitely knows that the teams that we actually made when I was the London Regional Executive Diversity Champion, and with a great team within that committee. I want to praise the chair, Chris Mains, and everybody that I sat on the board. And we did make an improvement when I was there. So what I would love to say for that question is, what attributes would I bring in this role? We will continue to make sure that the voices of Londoners are heard. And also, I am the founder of the Black Action Lib Dem group. Some of you will have seen that right now. And I want to take great pleasure to say thank you so much to all the volunteers that have actually supported behind the scenes to bring the effectiveness of bringing especially the Black voices within the party. And I just want to bring that to your attention, that this is something that is shaping up within our party. And this is something that I believe not just that will go a long way. I want to appreciate the Asian community, and especially Nassau, because
you have 30 seconds remaining.
Because with his help and with many others, with every single white ally that is out there, bringing the voices of every BLE community, that is what inclusion is all about. So with your voices, I believe that that is going to happen. And just quickly for Jonathan, I believe that the leaflets, we need to bring it to the hearts. Key performance targets will be put to every single chair across.
Please show your marks to close.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So questions there from Adrian, Helene Trett, and also Jonathan Hunt. Thank you for handling both those questions together. And we're now going to move on to a question from
Tom, yeah, I think you missed out Anne.
Oh, sorry.
Don't worry.
Sorry, Anne, wasn't trying to cut you out there. Sorry. 2 minutes for Anne. Thank you, Anne.
So in terms of attributes that I can bring for an intersectional approach, when I arrived at the first meeting this year on London Region, I was horrified that I was one of only 2 women in elected positions there, and that there was nobody of colour in the room. I called it out straight away and said, like, we've got to change this. I'm very excited that we've got a much better slate of people who've put themselves forward this year. But I think fundamentally as a party, we've got a lot of catching up to do and a lot of things that we need to change. You know, it's not good enough that people feel excluded from a leaflet that we're putting out in support of our campaign. And we need to work hard and be aware and change that and look at ourselves all of the time of, are we doing this well enough? Is this representative? You know, one of the best things about London is the brilliant diversity of people that you can meet. You know, diversity of every kind. Everybody is in London, and that's one of the reasons that we love our city. I feel like this year, you know, there's only so much one person can do. If we are empowering our local parties who know their communities on the ground to go out and have those conversations. So the programme of workshops that we've been doing over the last 6 months have been providing local parties with access to information about the communities that live in their areas, and then working towards.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
Conversation. So last night we had a practical session hearing from two of our fantastic candidates from a Nigerian background to fantastic candidates with Pakistani heritage about the issues that matter to their local communities, and giving people the confidence that it's not scary to make contact with the mosque or with the local church and begin that conversation. We've just got to get over that barrier and get out there, but there's a lot of catching up that we need to do.
Thank you very much, Anne, and also thank you to the chair's aide for making sure I didn't go off piece there. So the next question is from Simon McGrath from Merton. What lessons can be learned from the process of shortlisting our mayoral candidates earlier this year? And for that question, we're going to have Juliet first. And please unmute yourself. Yep, Juliet.
I'm just going to say that for this question, because we are doing, we are in the middle of an investigation, I think that I will pass to answer this question. And out of good practice, I think that I will not answer that question at this stage. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Juliet. Anne, you're next on my list.
So as Juliet says, there is an ongoing investigation, so treading carefully through it. But I think there are lessons that we can learn, and we have had there's a review that Baroness Sutty has kindly put together very quickly, which looks not just at this process, but how it can improve the selection processes across the party. When candidates go forward for approval, how does that work? And clarity over who is responsible for doing Google, or who is responsible for doing social media. It's very easy to think that we can outsource all responsibility to some paid for organisation that is going to do a social media check and then everything will be fine. But we can learn more. But I think sometimes you end up at the right place via the wrong route. And to have Louisa as our candidate now, I think that is exciting. I think we've got the best person in that position to take us forward, to lead that team of candidates, to be, she is the front person, she'll be the voice in London. She's been getting great cut through so far, and she's working so well with our assembly candidates to get that message out there. So there are lessons to be learned. I'm sure more will come out in the coming months, but I feel like we have got to the right place.
Thank you, Anne. And finally on this question, Roderick.
Well, that old chestnut. I believe that we've got questions to ask. It's too much more of the same. There needs to be a root and branch change throughout selection, election, the committee stage, etc. I spoke to Baroness Sutty myself. I took part in the review. It was all too quick. However, the antics of people, and he put the question, yes, there's an investigation, but Simon McGrath posed the question. And it's not right that my opponent just said that we got there by the wrong route. Everybody is innocent until proven guilty, and you get what you pay for. If you're willing to pay £25 for a vetting search, you deserve all that you got. And that is what London Region did. The way that the committees worked, I've got no problem with that. But my main focus is this. We have a region that is devoid of ideas, that the same people are running for office time and time again, and that the mistakes keep happening. When my opponent says we have Louisa Porritt is a lovely woman, and she's now running for London, and we have to get behind her. But I will say this to you: don't forget Siobhan Bonita, and what the reason why she's no longer here. So we've got a root. There's no lessons learned here. We've got a root and branch change. We need to change the people that keep the seats warm, that do nothing. And at the end of the day, we will get there in the end. As my opponent just said, we got there by the wrong route.
Remaining.
But the wrong route can be illegal, and the wrong route can be cheating. And on that basis, I don't believe that my region did the best for me in selecting the way they handled the selection process. Thank you.
Thank you, Roderick. We're now going to move on to another question, this time from Rachel Lee Mackenzie, Haringey's Diversity Officer. As chair, how will you support LGBTQ+ campaigns, members and candidates? And that question will be for Anne first. You're muted at the moment.
Could you repeat the question, Tom? Sorry.
Yes, the question was, so it's from Rachel Lee Mackenzie, Haringey Diversity Officer. As chair, how will you support LGBTQ+ campaigns, members and candidates?
Well, I think all of our SAOs are a really untapped resource, and I'm really excited. So Gareth Lewis Shelton, who I've worked really closely with over the last 2 years, he's now the chair of LGBT+, and I am very much happy to work with him. He knows what his team needs, and I'm very much there to support him.
Okay, and Roderick is next.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I had an email today from Gareth Lewis Shelton. I dealt with Jeannie Rigg, previously of LGBT+ Lib Dems. As an individual, I've supported Nadia Fadi Phoenix and our engagement with Stonewall and Hidayah. And I believe there's a lot more to be done. Where I've fought for race equality over the years, I might have fought for race equality, but there's BAME LGBT people that believe they haven't got a voice in the party. One has just been elected to Young Liberals, Kirby Bibbon, who I've been talking to and dealing with. But most of all, what I wanted to do in the party was I wanted to make sure that people like me, of my ilk, my colour, are represented in the party, be it if they're lesbian, gay, straight or transgender. I represent all the members. But what I did 2 years ago, I set up a group which led to the party being represented at Black Pride. It was the first time it was ever done. And I did my best, and I learned from the people that worked with me and made it happen. Now, since then, LDCRE has built up a load of different partnerships with various LGBT groups. That's not the be all and end all. What can't happen is leave it to the SAOs. SAOs can give you advice, but there's a saying, if you might have open arms, but you've got closed minds. And in this party, that's another minority that goes by the wayside. We might be a party of equal marriage. You have 30
seconds remaining. We
might be a party of equal marriage, but we're not a party that stands up. Where is our LGBT MPs? How many LGBT councillors we have? How many BAME LGBT councillors we have? We have absolutely zilch in Glee Club speak and bugger all. Thank you.
And finally on this question, Juliet.
Thank you very much to Rachel Lee Mackenzie, Haringey Diversity Officer. First of all, LGBT campaigns are absolutely vital for our capital as well, and even within the Lib Dem. I just want to appreciate Gareth Shelton. I'm always in constant reach for all the diversity officers, because I talked about earlier on, engagement. Engagement is key to every single person that promotes inclusion and diversity. And that is something that I stand for, as many of you would know. So I feel that with LGBT, even when I was there, one of the things that I greatly did was they wanted to go and talk about, they felt that Black people sometimes are missed out in helping to promote the issues of LGBT. And I remember on this occasion, we were actually having something around Moorgate and Finsbury Park there. And they approached me from, I remember, was it Zach and Zach Polanski and somebody else. And they wanted just somebody to voice out. And within me, I just came out and I said, we shall not tolerate, any discrimination, irregardless of your sex, whatever, your background, and everything, it's literally important to respect everybody's race. And standing up has a voice for
You have 30
every
seconds remaining.
Standing Up has a voice for everyone. One of the best things, as I said, is to make sure that we're working with our white allies. We are also working with the LGBT, inviting each other to every single campaign and considering all the SAOs are working together, even the disability group, regardless of who you are. We must promote talent out there, and we need all the LGBTs to work together.
Thank you very much, Juliet. So now we're going to move on to a question from, I think, Seton During. I hope I haven't mangled that name, as I might have done others earlier. And the question is going to be Roderick. For Roderick first, the question is, both Labour and Conservatives are reputedly at about 40% popularity rating amongst voters. What are we doing to impress voters that we matter and are a better alternative? So, Roderick, you first.
I didn't catch your name, I beg your pardon, but I will say we're doing absolutely zilch. The Conservatives and Labour, the Conservatives are targeting the Lib Dems voters, that is in Southwest London, and they're doing it famously. Labour are targeting the BME vote. 75% of London's BME community vote Labour. What are we doing? We're not even talking to them. So yes, there's a need to engage with people, but you've got to understand the numbers don't tell lies. You already go into a fight and you're only able, as a party, we are in London, we go into a fight and then we're only talking to 58% of the electorate, and we're not even doing that properly. We run 3 councils, we've got 3 MPs in London. Soon Scotland will be the major hub of the party if we're not careful. So yes, we've got a lot of work to do, but what you've got to understand is this. If we don't get our act together and get our messaging right, then we're in big trouble. I'm a director of various companies or whatever, and I can tell you this, our performance is turnaround. In business, it's called turnaround. You sling out the chief exec, you sling out the chairman, and you come to people that can turn around the business. We are in the messaging business, and we don't have the message to engage with people that we need to vote. And that's it, as simple as that. I don't need to tell you more than that. Until we're talking to people that look like me and you, we're not going to get anywhere. This is more of the same. Tell me what, tell me
You have 30 seconds remaining.
And I have to say to you this, again, I say it. We're not licorice all sorts. Oh, I've recruited a black one. I've recruited an Asian one. We don't need to do anything else. It's not going to get us anywhere. It's not cutting the mustard. We, as you say, are not getting our message across. We are devoured of ideas in London, and I'm sorry, it's more of the same and it needs to change.
Thank you, Roderick. And now Juliet for this question.
The question is, thank you so much, Seton During from Enfield. So what is it we are doing as Lib Dem members? And that is the question I would ask our party leaders right now. What exactly have you asked the members to do right now? Are you reaching out to members to really support our Councillor Louisa, for example? And what exactly are we, is the communication process right now really good? So if I'm elected as your chair, one of the great things that I'm going to be doing is to make sure that the communication channels between London region and local politics management is exactly hard, and is exactly, that communication channel is right there, and people feel supported regardless of where they are. And I believe that once you've got a good chair, it means that the local parties and boroughs are able to feel confidence, they're able to feel that they've got somebody in charge, and they're able to come back to us and they feel supported. And once you've got a supportive team, you have teamwork. So once you have teamwork, then of course, what would stop us from really running a great campaign? And I know that is what we need as Londoners. That is what Lib Dem needs. And I believe in my heart that Once we even deal with people like Tom Breaks or even all the MPs, we need to be supporting all the MPs to come out so that the energy is not run down.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
If we're going to really, really get like the Labour and Conservative, we need to be listening to our members. We need to be able to understand that our members are the most important thing to drive our elections. And once we are able to drive that election, that is when we will be able to rebuild our party. Thank you.
Thank you, Juliet. And then finally on this question, Anne.
So there is an opportunity, because I think the format of the Conservatives that we've got at the moment, those bonds are weakened for a lot of people, and Labour is still refinding itself over the Jeremy Corbyn, Keir Starmer, even with today. So absolutely, talking to people is vital. I mean, one of my colleagues here is trying to paint me as someone who sits behind a keyboard only. I go out and I do research. I go out and I knock on doors, you know, and at the moment, over the last few months, it has been difficult for all of us in local parties across London, and it's been hard not to be able to campaign in our traditional fashion. But I think our party does have a problem in that we're so busy doing things, we forget to tell people about the amazing things that we've done. And Lib Dems probably aren't naturally people who go out and shout and celebrate the brilliant work and this kind of thing. We tend to prefer to get involved in little internal discussions of nitpicking and pulling ourselves apart, rather than telling asking voters and sharing with voters the good things that we're doing. So I think, yeah, we've got to be talking to people. We've got to be celebrating our successes. Caroline Pigeon's picking up work on cladding. That's a real opportunity to engage with people. We were at she chaired a meeting yesterday after a suggestion I put forward in the last exec meeting to bring
You have 30 seconds remaining.
Our parties across London and find these things that actually matter to people. We spend a lot of time talking about stuff amongst ourselves that doesn't actually matter. We need to go out and be speaking to voters about the stuff that they care about.
Thank you very much, Anne. So we're now going to move on to another question, and this was submitted by a person who was anonymous, and Juliet is going to be the first person to answer this question. And the question is, if you become chair, how much time would you be able to commit to the role, given that we have mayoral GA elections coming up in May and local council elections the following year? First, Juliet.
I'm sorry, I missed that, Tom Break, please.
So the question is, basically, if you become chair, how much time will you be able to commit to the job, given how busy the schedule of elections is over the next couple of years?
I'll just say 100%. I'm ready, and I believe that you need the right kind of person that can take this challenge and take us forward from where we are right now. You need a good chair. You need somebody who can take and learn also, and also be able to take from what already has been put down by our former chairs. People like Chris Mains, people like like all the campaign managers. You need somebody who can forward us, somebody who can bring us up, somebody who can be the Lib Dem voice and bring us up and support our party leader, Ed Davey, and make sure that our voice is being heard right across London, so that we are the voice, so that people get to know what we stand for, so that people get to know, regardless of the 11 MPs that we have, we are able to bring out the voices of Londoners. That is why it is important to choose the London person who is going to now have a team. And I believe with that team, with the President Mark as well, that is, if they're supported, I know we can come out of this hole, and that is what we need to champion. And we cannot forget the good work and the foundations that all the MPs have made. And so you need that kind of chair to bring forward, to bring confidence back in this government, to bring confidence in the hearts of Londoners, to say we are not losers, but we are winners. We are not going to be taken for granted.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
The president of America, Joe Biden has just won. And thank you so much to the Democrats here. So it gives confidence to us today as Liberal Democrats that we take pride, and we take great pride for that. So I believe with the members voting for me, it means that we are going to bring back leadership to where it belongs, and that leadership belongs to us.
Thank you very much, Juliet. And on this question next, Anne.
So in my day job, I've got a background in journalism. I work on a big national website. So I'm used to deadlines. I'm used to unexpected things suddenly turning up that you've got to deal with now. And I'm also used to working with an amazing team who, if you empower other people, then you can get a lot more done. So yes, it's partly about me as chair and how much time I can commit. And realistically, it's not about chairing the meetings. The real work is done in between the meetings to move things forward. But I would ask everybody who's here tonight, do have a really good look at all of the candidates who are standing for the committee, because there are some great people who are putting themselves forward. Thanks to everybody who has done. There's a lot of first-time people in there as well. And I think we can make a really great team that we can get a lot more done together. You know, I've been working on the London region pretty full on this year, so I know what is involved. You know, I get up early and I do stuff before work. I make time in my day if I need to, and then I'm doing things in the evening. It's been a busy schedule this week. I'm very grateful to have a lovely husband who will make me dinner, and I come off a meeting and there's a nice hot meal there for me, which is a massive support. So I have that support and encouragement to help me do it. And like I said in my opening, I know what a big job this is and how much time is involved, and I'm ready to do it.
Thank you very much, Anne. And finally on this question, Roderick.
I think the question was how much time that we can spend. I can give you all my time. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. I gave my time, all of my time, earlier in the year. From my cancer sickbed, I rose. I walked day and night on the telephone, treading the boards to help Anton Georgiou win Alperton. When I hear and I see things happening around me, I've given my time, and I've said so. Margot Wilson came to my door after not knowing I lived next to one of these leafy houses that she went to. And I explained to her, I'm there for you, I'll campaign for you, and I will win for you. But I've done it before. I did it with LDCRE when I was campaigning day and night, every day, to get the party to deal and choose and look at the way they deal on race. No, they're not my words. That's Sal Brinton's words when I was awarded the Harriet Smith Award for the way I've changed the way the party deals on race. Campaigning is not sitting behind a keyboard. Campaigning is not a pastime that is done on a quiz night on a Sunday evening. Campaigning is getting to grips with the argument, developing a message and getting out there. And I believe that I will be out there. I'll give you my time. You can have my 2 years. I've done it before. And when I couldn't do it on London Region, I put my hands in my own personal pocket and I paid for people to do the work that I was not able to do. And I paid for the interns on London Region. So yes, the interns that worked on London Region were paid for by me before they then moved on into the body of the campaign. I've done it, I've been there, I've got the t-shirt, but that doesn't give me the right to expect
30 seconds remaining.
That doesn't give me the right to expect people's votes. We can go out there, but if we've got no message and we've got nothing to sell, they won't vote for us. Recognize all of the people, all of the time. This is more of the same.
Thank you very much, Roderick. So we're now going to come to our final question, which is from Simran Meji from Tower Hamlets. And his question is... Her question is, what is your leadership style and how would your team members, colleagues describe you in one word? Do you have experience of working in a team with a range of sometimes conflicting opinions? And first to answer that question will be Anne.
Yeah, that pretty much describes the team I work with every day. Lots of strong personalities. I guess like consensus is something that I care a lot about. I like to try and bring people along together, listen to different people's opinions, suggest ways forward, and work things through together. I hope, and I think they would. I think my colleagues would say that I'm supportive. I think they would also say that I've got a lot of ideas and not unhelpful, and that they know that if they need me, I am there for them.
Thank you very much, Anne. And next for this question is Roderick.
My people that know me, and I'll use first Isabel Prasaram, who, when she became nominated as vice president, the party called me a tour de force. I'd get things done. I wanted to see BME people in London. I was able to persuade London Region to zip to get Hina Bakari in place. I wanted to see RDC established in the party, and I was told it can't be done. I got it done. They told me you're a force of nature. That is what they told me. I have people that I've worked for in the past and have told me you're the hands-on CEO that gets things done. When I did the planning of the transport of the Olympic Games in 2012 for my country, and I planned and I operated the Olympic Games transport for athletes, I was told that the Great Britain had someone to be proud of. When I sat on the Skills Funding Agency Advisory Committee, I was told, Mr. Lynch, you go and give the hard yards. When I managed to obtain funding for level 2 qualifications when Vince sat in biz. I can use the time when Ruskin Private Hire, a company that I ran, won the national transport awards of the year. And I was told, and I was said, we've given this award to a CEO that gets it, knows it, and develops a team. But most of all, I would say this, my company received the Ofsted report, and that Ofsted report may be still out there in Ruskin Private Hire. And the inspector said, we have never seen nothing like this. There's a team behind this man, 55 people, and they deliver on message. There's people out there who know what I've done, and people out there who said to me, and I'll use Julia Cambridge as an example, vote for Roderick Lynch because he gets it and he gets the job done. Thank you.
Thank you, Roderick. And finally on this question, which is our last question, Juliet.
Tom, could you just repeat that question, please?
Yeah, so the question is, what is your leadership style and how would your team members or colleagues describe you in one word? Do you have experience of working in a team with a range of sometimes conflicting opinions?
Thank you so much, Simran, for that question. And indeed, my leadership style is, first of all, I'm an experienced manager. I'm a qualified manager. I'm also a change maker. And I just want to take you quickly to a story. Can you imagine yourself working in a kitchen? Can you imagine making sure that you have delivered and people are being served food? My job, I have done such jobs, and I've been a cook and delivered right down to the customer standards and ensured that everybody is being served food. I also want to take you to a hospital setting as I answer this question. I've also worked in a hospital setting and I've actually been managing loads of different staff. So I want to give you confidence here today that I'm your right candidate. For many of you who don't know that I'm a social scientist, I'm also a problem solver. What is my management leadership style? I love that question because I'm also a qualified manager. And I'm also a qualified petals trainer here in United Kingdom. With confidence, I want to tell you there's different management style. I love a people-centered management sort of thing, a people's person. And I want our members to come up with solutions to solve the problems that we are experiencing within the Lib Dem Party. So with humility and with humbleness, I want you to pick me up as your first preference and with great ideas. And
you have 30 seconds remaining.
Do not take it for granted. I always hear every single one of you because I know It takes a special person to really hear the voices of all the people as members. And that is how we make a difference to the world. So I believe that by electing me to be your chair, I will follow the footsteps of great persons that you have taken in the past, but most so improve the current standard so that Libden
Please draw your remarks to a close.
Thank you. So my leadership right now, I know how to work with all different kinds of people, and that is the best person, and you're looking at that person. And my name is Juliet Makapila.
Thank you very much, Juliet. So we've come to the end of questions, but now what we've got for each of the candidates is their closing remarks. So this will be 2 minutes each, and we're going to start with Roderick. Roderick.
Members, friends, you've heard the hustings tonight. It is more of the same. If we cannot stand up to represent London, if we cannot go to all corners of London, then what are we? Are we a charity? Are we a pressure group? We are a national party. We want to win. I am a winner from my time as runner-up, Sunday Times, Entrepreneur of the Year 2007, BBI Businessman of the Year 2008, Ernst & Young Business Runner-Up Businessman of the Year 2011, and the list goes on. But that doesn't give me any form of right to think that I can govern. I'm a man who's operated with a team, and that team has to deliver regardless the colour of their skin. The Liberal Democrats will never be able to win. We are prostituting a fraud by letting our mayoral candidate go out there without the backing and without the voices of 100% of the population in London. So the BME Londoners have to be included. Let me tell you this. Take it from me, Roderick John Lynch, who Sal Brinton said has changed the way that we deal on race. Take it from me that we are devoid of ideas. Take it from me that you've got seats that you should have won. Take it from me that as a national party and a local party and a local region, that we are in second place in numerous seats, 91 across the country and in London. And if
That's 30 seconds remaining.
And if we don't wake up and smell the coffee, Labour and the Conservatives will come over the wall and breach the southwestern boundary and turn it blue. Now, all I'm saying to you is this: if you don't listen to me, then you'll have to listen to the electorate. But first of all, and the last thing from me, I am not your pick and mix. I am not your licorice bullshit. I'm not your toolkit or your toolbox. I'm a human being just like you, and London region needs to step up to the plate. And all the shenanigans all the shenanigans you are seeing is because people like me stood to run this region. And I thank you all for tonight. God bless.
Thank you very much, Roderick. And now we have Juliet.
Thank you very much to everyone. I was really inspired by the speeches and questions here today. Thank you to Seth, our returning officer, Seth, for his role today as a returning officer, and of course our great chair here today, Tom, and his co-host, Scott Emery. I also want to just thank London Region, Julie Island, who has supported SEC and most of us here today. And I want to wish good luck to all the candidates and all the other elections that are happening, and let's create a great team. I'd like to finish off with a quote from a professor from Kenya. His name is Jad Akama, and he's also a chaplain. He says, "Inspire and aspire before you expire." So thank you all for coming also today. And don't forget to vote for me as your first preference. And remember, if we're going to have a great team in London, we need great ideas. We need somebody who can champion the greatness of Liberal Democrats. And that is the sort of person that members should be looking at this time. Not favorites and not anything like that. You want new ideas that can solve the problems, and not people who are just there not to do anything. So please give me your first preference so that we can make a difference to our party, so that we can bring our party and support great leadership to the so that we can support our party leader and support the whole committee in the right direction. Vote
You have
for
30
me.
seconds remaining.
Vote for me, members. And thank you so much for having me here today. I would also like to say that today my mom passed away. So I'm really, really grateful that I've just managed sort of like come here today. So thank you, members.
Thank you very much, Juliet. And I think we'd all like to share our condolences with you. And finally, Anne.
So we're all here because we're proud Liberal Democrats and we love London. So being called an opponent tonight, it was not, it was a strange feeling. We're colleagues. We all want the best for London. We want the best results that we can have. We want the best engagement with the voters across all of our communities. I think to hear someone who was on the selection committee to be making accusations at London but taking none of the responsibility himself, I found a bit disappointing, to be honest. But we'll move on because we have a lot to look forward to. This is a 2-year term. It's a really important election, and I'm asking for your first preference. I think that we can get organised. There's so much we can do to make ourselves more efficient, to make more of that time so that we can spend more time out in the world, talking to voters and making a difference. Having those conversations, being relevant in people's lives, listening to them and finding out what they need. And as chair, the first thing I would need to do is listen to our local parties and what they need. We've spoken quite a lot about ourselves tonight, but actually, for me, the job as chair is to serve the local parties, really, to help you be the best that you can be, because you are the strength of London Region, and we just need to help you unleash it.
Thank you very much, Anne. So that is it for the proceedings tonight. So I would just like to, first of all, thank everyone who's joined us on the call today. I also want to thank Virgin Media for not crashing my Wi-Fi during tonight's proceedings, which could have caused us some real problems. So thank the team as well who helped put this together and make sure that everything ran very smoothly, because there was an awful lot of work needed behind the scenes to do this, make sure that it happened on time and everyone was able to participate, fielding the questions and so on. And finally, of course, to thank our 3 candidates who have put in clearly a lot of time and effort in preparation and have set out their stalls. So we're very fortunate in London Region in having a choice in front of us. Now, just a reminder, ballot papers have already gone out by email or by post if an email address wasn't available. And the deadline is 5 p.m. on the 27th of November, with the result being announced on the 30th. So that is it for tonight. And as I said again, thank you everyone for participating. I think this has been a fantastic exercise, a really good opportunity. And I suspect we might have had more people attending tonight online than if we tried to do it in person at a venue. So thank you everyone and good night.